All right, that's wonderful. Okay, well, again, thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody, for joining the December edition of the SALT Office Hours. We have a few topics to cover today, starting with some community news. We'll then shift over to actually talk about some of the SALT Conf highlights, the announcements that came in there for those who were able to join us. That will be a quick summary. And for those who haven't, we've had a lot of requests to sort of give a quick preview around the key topics. We'll also shift to talk a little bit about Neon and where are we with the release, and of course, close off with open discussion and questions. To start with, I wanted to kickstart our call with some of our community news. For those of you who have reached out and asked about Kavya, we wanted to share some news that Kavya had taken a new opportunity with Pluralsight. You'll find her, in LinkedIn and so on. She's shared some of that news with the community members. It is an opportunity that grows Kavya's product management heritage and her aspirations to continue to move in that profession of the side, and definitely some wonderful progress and growth for her professional career going into additional, product management responsibilities. Kavya has really been a core member of our community, so we wish her all, gratitude and best wishes. And she's conveyed, her gratitude for working with this community and asked for everybody to continue to stay in touch with her. That occurred last week, and of course that meant that some of us did not have the chance to see her at the conference. But anyway, that's some news around Kavya's new adventure, and we wish her well. I wanted to welcome two new team members. Sage, who's on the call today, is joining us as our new Scrum Master. Sage has had a long history with the SALT project and the SALT team, and actually served a stint with the Open Team in its early days. We're ever so thrilled to have her rejoin our community and help us bring some more structure and discipline in the form of Scrum Master. Sage, I don't know if you wanted to say a few words.
I'll just say hello.
That's wonderful. So, of course, everybody will hear more from Sage, and as we move forward around some of our release communications and so on and so forth, Sage will lead us that. We're also very thrilled and excited to make another announcement today, which is something that we've recognized as a role that we need to formalize, grow, and invest in. And that is the role of a community manager. For us as a community, we've been growing every month and every year. And with the size of our community, there is a lot of need for us to ensure that we're investing in keeping the community cohesive, informed, tackle some of the needs of communications and coordination and so on and so forth, but also, frankly, to help us as a community evangelize both inside the company, outside of the company, and through other communities. And I'm really thrilled on behalf of the team to share that Cassandra Faris has joined us as our new community manager. Many folks who attended SALTConf had a chance to meet Cassandra in person. We were ever so grateful for her joining the team on Friday and then flying into the conference on Monday to capitalize on the opportunity to meet many folks in person. I'll let Cassandra give a little bit of her background and introduce herself so that folks get familiar with her voice as well.
Hi, I'm Cassandra. Apologies, I'm actually losing my voice, so we'll do my best. But to give you an idea of my background, I've been working in tech for close to 10 years, started my career in technical recruiting and moved into marketing and community management, basically helping coordinate user groups and meetups here in Columbus, Ohio, and in the Midwest region of the United States. In addition to that, I'm a conference organizer, an international speaker focusing on human skills topics, and really excited to be part of SaltStack, really excited to kind of grow the SaltStack community as well as introduce my existing community, my existing network to SaltStack and to this community, and kind of find ways to bring people together.
Thank you, Cassandra, and welcome to the community on behalf of the community. I know many folks were super thrilled, and not to steal the show from Rhett around the conference itself, but certainly that was one of the highlights as we walked the hallways, people saying, it's great that we finally have a community manager. So please, find Cassandra in the Slack channels, reach out to her. Both her and Sage are helping us, take our community to the next level, both from the project aspects, the engagement aspects, and so on and so forth. And not to lose sight of the fact that we are also looking to backfill Kavia's position. For those who were not familiar necessarily with the details of what Kavia covered for us from a community's perspective, she took on some responsibilities for the community. She did some of the release aspects, but she also, of course, played a critical component from a product management perspective, gathering some of the key requirements, sourcing out what are the key elements that we want to tackle from a release perspective, as well as advocating any changes that we may need to do against the core platform. So that role of a product manager for the open community is one that we also happen to have open. So if you have any colleagues, folks that you would recommend in your network, we would love to have them apply for the role. So next, we can move on to actually talk about SaltConf itself and share with the team perhaps a quick update on the key highlights from the event and some of the key announcements. So Rhett, why don't you go ahead and get us started on that one, please?
Yeah, so one of the things we did announce at SaltConf was the rollout of community.saltstack.com subdomain, which is a big part of the reason why we established the subdomain was to provide a place for meetings like office hours, to essentially have a home and a place for people to be able to sign up and RSVP to the meeting and get information about the meeting, get reminders about the meeting. And we're kind of working through some of the kinks on it, but it does exist now. It'll be tied closely to our meetup.com and user group network. And will, things like, SaltConf will be promoted there as well as other resources. So if you're not familiar with that site yet, please get familiar with it. And also, as we kind of work out some of the kinks, send feedback to Cassandra and to myself of how we can make that better and make it really work as a platform to allow our community to better engage and collaborate. So, one of the main questions we always get at SaltConf is will the sessions be recorded and when will they be available? So we move to the next slide. We're done with post-production on the videos. We had about 30 sessions that were recorded this year. Post-production is done, and now we just need to get those videos available to everybody, both people that were in attendance because there was a lot of content there. It was hard to get to everything, as well as people that were not able to join us. We do have that video coming soon. And so, look to, the Salt Community Slack channel, to community.saltstack.com and our social networks, and you'll see those videos and access to those videos posted there. Let's go to the next slide. Just kind of to cover some of the highlights from SaltConf very quickly. We're not going to get into a whole lot of detail here, but we announced a new product in the SaltStack SecOps family of products, which is called SaltStack Protect. Those details are all available up on our website if you're so inclined. But I just want to make a quick note and point out that these products, again, obviously built on the Salt automation engine, the open source automation engine, extremely powerful, extremely good at helping companies drive compliance and security into their infrastructure, their production infrastructure from a security operations perspective. They've been winning all kinds of awards, and just kind of speaks to the fact that that Salt automation engine is powerful. It's good at what it does, and obviously a lot of you have contributed to that, and we appreciate that. And these awards are a reflection of the work that the community has put into it over the years, and I just want to call that out quickly. But we also had some other awards, not product awards, but for the last 3 years we've recognized contributors in the SaltSec community. And this year we expanded the awards that we were handing out a bit more. And at SaltConf, we were happy to announce the leading Salt contributors of the year as Alberto Planas, as well as Matt Phillips. And then we had a new award called the Salt Champion of the Year. It essentially goes to the person that has done the most to kind of evangelize and to promote, the Salt platform and the community generally. And so we're happy to provide these awards and again recognize the good work that is going into the community and all the contributions that are made there. We really do appreciate that work. And so, of course, we're in touch with those award winners and have a little trophy and some prizes that we'll be sending to them. But we appreciate the input that we received from the community on who are the most deserving members or recipients of those awards as well. So thank you for your input there. I guess one last big thing for me before I hand off, to the team here to talk about some of the other product announcements, specifically around the Salt platform. But we're happy to announce for the first time ever, we're going to do a SaltConf in Europe. Are coordinating with our partner Sue, formerly known as Snow, and we've set the dates, we've got the location, and watch in January for registration and a call for speakers to open for SaltConf 20 EU, be held in June 10th and 11th. And so we've been getting this request for years, and we're really excited to finally have a SaltConf in Europe for the vibrant community that exists there. And that's all I had to cover, Mo. I think we're going to hand off to the team to kind of dive into some of the new products, the Salt product releases and announcements that were covered at SaltConf as well. I don't know if Tom's on or if somebody else will be covering that.
Yeah, no, we'll ask a few of our colleagues to cover different bits. Thank you for that, Rhett. So folks, again, just to summarize, community.saltstack.com, please go ahead and register if you're not there. That's one of the feedback items around how can we improve just the simple logistics around our community management. And we've come to learn this to be a best practice. So highly encourage you to engage with that. You'll get a lot of simple things like reminders for the office hours, reminders of any other meetings that may be occurring, etc. And it just automatically goes into your calendar. The videos will come out, as Rhett said, and as soon as those will come out, we'll publicize that through our community. My personal thank, and on behalf of the whole team here, for the folks who had joined us to deliver a lot of those sessions. You'll observe that many of them were delivered by community members. Many of them covered aspects of best practices and key learnings. And it was very evident from walking the hallways that many of the sessions that tackled some more of the advanced implementations of SALT really were oversubscribed, as well as those that really allowed us to get introductions into some of the new projects and the core elements. So it was great to see some new members of the community, as well as folks that have been working with the platform for some time. And again, congratulations to Alberto and Matt, and then grateful to all of the folks who voted in and helped us get Max, crowned as Champion of the Year. So let's talk about the actual announcements themselves, or highlights of a subset of them. First and foremost, on day one keynote, where we really focused much of the event around our community activities, Tom had the opportunity to share 4 new projects, POP, Umbra, Heis, and IDEM. Those projects, just to clarify, are actually out there, available. Everybody can go and learn a little bit more about them and, in fact, start to engage by contributing to them. We do plan to hold a deep dive session on those 4 projects with Tom. That was one of the requests. We may be looking to do that ahead of our next SALT office hours. So those on the community who are interested will be publicizing that and delivering deep dive sessions. Essentially, many of these projects help us extend the platform in ways that we've heard from the community and many of the users. The first one relative to POP, and POP is the one to start with because it actually forms the foundation for some of the other projects, is essentially tackling the whole challenge of how can we extend the platform out without needing to work through all of the inner workings and interdependencies of SALT. A plugin module that allows somebody to essentially extend the platform using a very narrow, if you like, branch approach, a very narrow plugin model, and be able to test it and deliver it without having to exercise the whole platform. It's been in the works actually for some time. And it's been exercised by the fact that we had projects such as Heist built on top of POP, as well as IDEM, as well as Umbra. I think Umbra is a project folks are familiar with. It allowed us to actually extend the platform to integrate with things like TensorFlow and start to apply the journey of AI and machine learning. We have a couple of use cases that have been implemented, and we can go through that through the webinar that we have set up. And then actually, I think Heist, Megan is taking the lead on trying to deliver Project Heist along the SSH work group. So Megan, why don't you give a quick perspective on Heist for the team here?
Sure, yeah, so you can think of Heist as a way to deliver an agent and maintain that agent, run it. So in the context of SALT, the hope is that Heist will take over SALT SSH, but that's not definitive. We haven't started any deprecations, but you essentially can use Heist as a replacement for it. As of today, it'll copy over the Python. It includes Python 3 in the SALT binary, runs it and manages it, and yeah, so that's Heist so far.
Thank you. So we will run time that, as I said, we'll schedule to go through these projects. But for the folks who are interested, please feel free to reach out to Megan, to David Hilton, to Tom, etc., around any one of those projects themselves. The second announcement that was made was around the delivery of native minions on essentially all the network providers, Cisco, Juniper, and Arista. We kicked off the announcement with Arista. That's the one we're delivering first, and we were ever grateful to have the Arista team join us there on stage to actually make that announcement. David Murphy and team have spearheaded much of that work, and they've been working closely with members of Arista, Cisco, Juniper, and others, as well as some of the community members who are helping us shape those particular use cases. Also announced at the conference is that we are making progress around the Delta proxy, and we've now made that open, part of the open project, where previously it had been, of course, part of the enterprise offering. Much, if you like, excitement and demand for that particular capability across the spectrum from our users. And so we made the decision to go ahead and have that released through the open project. And then lastly, the working groups, of course, we had reinvigorated those, got them started earlier in the summer. And this was the chance for the working group leaders and the team members to use SaltConf as a meeting point. We had some sprints set up towards the end of the day, as well as some meeting time for the work groups. And what we will be doing is, of course, asking each of the work group leaders to start joining these calls and sharing their progress back to the community. But again, just to give us a sample, perhaps, looking at who's joined us today, I'll ask Pedro to give us a quick update on behalf of the testing work group, just some insights as to what was discussed and covered there. Pedro, I don't know if you can hear me or if you are muted or not.
Oh.
Yeah, we can hear you now. Did you want
Okay.
to? Yeah, thank you.
So we did discuss where we were today and the future regards testing, and part of that discussion was actually moving to PyTest, which will allow us to test salt, and most importantly, when we are done, or when we fully implemented our migration to PyTest, we will be able to test projects which rely on Salt without Salt's test suite, which is something that people have been asking a lot, and it's kind of a problem and a hard problem to solve today. We also went through a list of the issues or the pull requests that need to go into the master branch, which will be the next Neon, and we kind of talked about what needed to be done, and people that were part of the testing work group and actually were excited to help out and get that job done faster. So those were like the highlights of our working group talk during SaltConf.
Thank you, Pedro. And I think just for the benefit of the team, we had a lot of interactions on the cloud work group. I know Nick and team plan to share an update of that. We also had several other insights that I'll ask Cassandra to actually cover in a moment. But worth noting is one of the other, of course, ever so active work groups that we have is on the networking side. And for those folks who have followed our Slack channel, you would have observed that for the networking work group, we're actually looking for a new captain. Murch is continuing to contribute for his projects, but has asked that somebody else step up as the captain. So we're looking for any volunteers from the community to join us and take up that particular post. We will continue to have the work groups that we've started, both covering the test, SSH, the cloud, networking, and so on and so forth. And of course, working groups are a best practice that allows folks to come together around a topic of special interest, contribute, shape, and help formulate the direction that we want to take against any one of those groups. So we encourage everybody to please participate, add your thoughts, add your energy into these special topics if you're interested in driving them forward. So next, if we go ahead and actually tackle some of what happened in SaltConf through a different lens, which is one that we would call the hallways. So what did we hear through the hallways, both of the conference itself, outside of the conference? What are the key messages, and what are some of the takeaways that we're going to act on? Cassandra, maybe you can cover those, given I think you covered more miles on this than any of us in terms of gathering some of the feedback.
I did, kind of inadvertently too, since it wasn't announced that I was a community manager until day 2. I just got to chatting with a lot of people. There were kind of 4 recurring themes. There's a lot of need for more documentation and better documentation, so we'll be starting a work group around that. Ongoing community engagements, I would say, was the biggest takeaway. There were a lot of requests to start or restart various user groups. I actually just got off a meeting about half an hour ago about starting some of those new user groups. One of them that's being revamped very quickly is the Houston SALT user group. They are meeting next week. And we'll be working to jumpstart other user groups. If you're interested in starting a user group in your region, please reach out to me. I'm kind of keeping a list of where people might want to have user groups and helping to identify leaders for those. Also going to start having weekly open calls. People are wanting more transparency and communication around things like testing, around releases, around some of the updates and notes. And so we'll be having these weekly open calls to give you all more insight into what's going on. And then finally, there was a lot of questions about how to get started with SALT, and we'll be creating some samples and some examples on how you can go about getting up to speed on the product and get some training. Did I miss anything, Mo?
No, that was great, Cassandra. And I think maybe just to highlight a couple of the items you shared. As I mentioned, it was interesting to see both the participation in the conference split between folks who have used the platform, for some time, contributed to the platform, are leaders, frankly, of contributing and maintaining many aspects of it, but also new users who are just getting started. So the aspect of how do I get started with Salt using a particular component or aspect surfaced quite a bit. And I think that's something worthwhile for all of us as a community to think through and make progress on. And then the aspect of the transparency also came through strongly, regardless of folks who are new or established. And I think these weekly open calls that Cassandra will help shape for us, along with Sage, should not just focus on the release or the timing, but also should be a forum for us to have a chance to work on any items. One of the best practices we've learned in the past is, just as we are trying to tackle some complex PRs or so on and so forth, feel free to nominate any one of those and come into the call and work with the core team members on getting any of those, talked through, worked out, and progressed. So if there's something that you're feeling strongly about, it might be something that might be relatively complex or involved. This is a chance on these weekly calls to just get on and communicate verbally and discuss some ideas and make progress on some of these actual code components. So we're excited about all of these items, the user groups, the new documentation work group, etc. And we hope, you are able to help us shape those as they get kickstarted. And I think, Cassandra, you'll be putting out a call for a documentation work group captain as well. We know a few folks have expressed interest, but again, please, throw your name in your hat if you feel passionate about this particular topic.
Yeah, definitely. And I know we're working on some processes on how to decide who should be the work group leaders. And there's some documentation around that to make sure that anybody who's interested has a chance to express their interest before we just go ahead and select a leader. So definitely reach out to me if you're interested.
Great, thank you, Cassandra. So that covers much of our community takeaways. And of course, folks, if there are questions, I know some of them have come in here in comments, we'll address those at the end. Let me now turn it over to Diwas to talk a little bit more around Neon. Where are we, what's happening, and give us a status update, if you like, on behalf of the community for our next major release. Diwas?
Sure. So originally we had planned to do the RC for Neon in mid-December. I think the date was December 18th. We've decided that with the holidays coming up, that we'll be better off making the RC on the 1st of January 2020. This will give us a little bit more time to focus on getting the pull requests, getting through the pull request backlog and everything. As far as those pull requests go, there is a large backlog right now, but the test suite on master right now is the most stable that we've seen it in a very long time. So now is a good time if you have the bandwidth to update, rebase or update your pull requests, let the test run, and then as those pass, we'll start getting them merged in. We also are still on track to hopefully get PyTest into the release, as well as Tornado 5 and Tornado 6 support. I believe that's all for release updates.
Thank you, Diwas. Yep, so release candidate coming up soon. A lot of good progress in here. And for folks who are looking beyond just the PyTest work and the broader test conversation, which I know that had garnered much interest, just a reminder, please feel free to join the test work group. Much of that is being discussed there with Pablo and Pedro and team. So this brings us to our last item on the agenda for folks on the phone. Any questions, any comments you'd like to share, please feel free to jump in. I noted in the chat that there was excitement about our Amsterdam location. So that's, yeah, we're all excited about that.
Mo, it looks like another question just came through about the RC.
Mike Place is asking, will the RC be packaged, or is it just are we just planning to tag it? I believe that we are planning to package it. David Murphy can probably chime in on that.
Yeah,
we're
just to,
basically planning to package it for the major OSs, the latest versions. So that would be Ubuntu 18.04, Red Hat, well, I guess Red Hat 7 and 8, since they're both pretty heavily used, Debian 10. And that would also include Amazon Linux 2
Great.
as well.
yeah. And Mike, your follow-on question around, yeah, we will be tagging it. So that first week of January is when the packages will be made available. So it won't be exactly on January 1st. It will probably be, I think it'll be the 3rd or 4th.
Sounds about right.
Thank you for the question. Any other questions, team?
It usually takes a few minutes for people to formulate their questions and get them into the chat.
Yes, I have learned that, I have to say, I have learned that it develops patience and how to be okay with silence for a while.
Right.
I enjoyed that in our past office hours.
So
There is, yeah, go ahead, Diwas.
Oh, we did get another question from Mike again. Is the next release 3001 or Neon? So the next release, codename Neon, will be 3000. The Sodium release will be 3001. If we do a bug fix release to Neon, which I'm, well, with the RC, we'll see if we need to or not. But if we do a bug fix release or one or more releases, they'll be 3000.1, 3000.2.
And just to follow on to that, I actually have just a direct message here on our community suggestion as a follow-on to Mike's question. And I think, Sage, you can help us with this one, and probably we should pin it to our Slack channel on the release side. Is just to remind folks around the code names and the release numbers. So if we can pin Neon 3000, Sodium 3001, and our tentative dates, that might be helpful sort of reference for everybody to be able to see. So I think we can definitely take that, Sage, and we can put on our Slack channel.
Yes. Yeah, great idea. I'll take a note of that.
How is Delta Proxy related to Metaproxy? So Metaproxy is sort of a precursor to Delta Proxy. Metaproxy is basically laying the groundwork for what needs to be done to get the actual Delta Proxy stuff into the code base. We're working on Delta Proxy right now, but we are working through some technical issues with it. And I'm not sure if we're going to get that into Neon, but if it doesn't get into Neon, it should be landing sometime shortly after, or at least the initial work will be getting into the code base.
Thank you for that, Diwaz. And folks, if anybody is interested or wants to follow progress on that, feel free to reach out to Gareth and Diwaz. I know there's been some interest on this one coming out of the conference, and progress is happening week in and week out.
Yeah, we have some code on different branches. So if people are interested, yeah, go ahead and feel free to reach out. And if you're interested in helping, that's awesome too.
Yoas, I have another one that just came in on the Slack channel here, just for us as a team to answer, which was, can you confirm if all the PRs are being migrated over to the new master? So I think this is a question that has surfaced a number of times. I think, Sage, also we should make sure that we share a little bit more transparently our list or make that easily accessible. The answer to that question, team, is that we've prioritized all of the PRs and we've been progressively making steady and positive progress towards moving and migrating many of them. I want to, on behalf of the team, also thank everybody who's taken it on themselves to try and move some of their PRs. That always, of course, helps us. But the simple answer is not everything will be making it through. However many we can get into Neon, we will get in. And then we will just roll them over to Sodium. If anybody has a specific PR that they're very focused on or interested in and so on, feel free, please, to either directly help us do the work or flag that for our attention. But we have a list and it's prioritized and shared out there.
Yeah, and we've had a lot of people chipping in and helping with the effort. We've had a lot of people adding tests to ports that were made that we looked at and said that we'd ask people write tests for. So a lot of times it's not even the person that originally made the PR, but someone else comes along and writes a test. And as soon as the tests are passing, we merge them in.
Yeah.
So having the, as I alluded to in the Neon release update, having the master branch as stable as it is right now, as far as tests go, is helping tremendously with that. So we're starting to pick up the pace there.
Yeah, super. Thank you, everybody, and to the team. This has been an incredible team effort, and really appreciate everybody who's rallied either through the test side or the PR side or so on. So thank you for that. Another one just came in here, and folks, feel free to either use the chat or the Slack. It seems one or two folks are using the Slack channel. The question in here, are there any plans for additional 2019 releases? Let's go ahead and give an answer to that. So team, yes, as everybody's been opening up certain PRs against the 2019.2.2 branch, we've been prioritizing those. We're looking at, of course, the ones that are blockers or high priority items, and work underway is to get the next sort of 2019.2.3 out. We can share as well some of the details and plans around what we see is going in there if you don't exactly have visibility or insight into that. But yes, we continue to work the 2019.2 side as well as, of course, the Neon release.
Yeah, one thing to note about that is if you do have something that you want to try to get into the 2019.2.3, you should still open your pull request against master, not 2019.2 or the 2019.2 branch, because we're no longer accepting PRs there. So just open the pull request against master and note in the description that this is a bug fix that can potentially go into 2019.2.3, and we'll work on doing the backport.
Yeah, thank you for that, Yoaz. Any other questions or comments, team? Going once. Twice. Oh, we have one more here. So Cassandra and Rhett, maybe this one is for you. It says in here, you mentioned user groups. Can you describe if those are different from the existing user groups? And are there new requirements to register through community.saltstack to join those? Rhett, maybe you can help us with that particular aspect around joining the user groups or publicizing them. And if folks are going to shift away from Meetup or need to shift away from Meetup, I think that's what's behind the question here.
Yeah, no need to shift away from Meetup. That's kind of the net answer to the question. The best place to go and see what user group chapters we have around the world, and we've got north of 40, is to go to meetup.com/pro/saltstack, I believe it is. So meetup.com/pro-saltstack, and there'll be a map there. You'll see all the locations around the world. And so go there, see if there's a Meetup chapter in your area. If there is not, let us know, reach out to us, and we'd be happy to consider adding one. But yeah, we'll continue to use Meetup. However, community.saltstack.com will be tightly integrated with Meetup. And so it's almost like an extension of what we've got in meetup.com right now. So, feel free to use whatever you'd like, frankly. So hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, thank you for that, Rhett. All right, and last call for any questions or any comments.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, that's a great question, Mike. Thank you. So the question is, can we get any recordings of the working group meetings? So there is recording. Can we get summaries posted? Absolutely. So that's one of the things that Sage will help us with, is as we engage with the work groups. The plan that we shared with the work group captains is to try and get a summary out, and also the key decisions that are being made around any of these work groups. So you'll start to see those roll out, Mike, and we'll also be asking the work group leaders to join our office hours and explicitly provide an update on a month-to-month basis, both things that happened and things that we're looking forward to. So great comment, and thank you for that. All right, folks, I know we're only a few minutes away. Let me just close off by first and foremost saying thank you. Thank you to everybody who made SaltConf the great success that it was this year. You didn't need to be there to actually make it a success. Your contribution, your efforts, your spirit were recognized. The names of many of our heroes who are on this call and the communities were ringing in the hallways of discussion. SALT is nothing but the sum of its contributors, their passion and their contributions. So thank you, a heartfelt thank you and a sincere one to everybody who's helped us get to this point of growth and maturity and so on. The second thing is, of course, team, hopefully you're seeing through all of our actions, the community is a priority for us. This is something that we're going to continue to improve through your feedback, through your input. How can we do better? How can we engage better? How can we make this project a fun place for all of us to be part of? Is something that we are prioritizing and very much interested in making sure that we get right. So keep sending your letters, keep sending your cards, keep sending your suggestions. I feel like with the hard actions that we had to take over the summer and some of the corrections that we make every day to our process, to our release, improvements to our testing, expansion of the platform, new projects that are innovating and so on. We are on a right path together to be able to take Salt to its next chapter. And there's much to be excited about. So again, thank you very much and hope everybody has a wonderful day and a wonderful week. Thank you and goodbye.
Thanks, everybody.